Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to see the concept of network security group and how it is different from the security rules we have seen. So we have already seen in our earlier video that whenever we create a subnet, whether it is a public subnet or a private subnet, a default route table and a default security list gets attached to it automatically. Now, whatever rules that you have configured in this security list, they get applied to all the computes inside your subnet. However, if the requirement in your organization is to differentiate those security rules by the computes that you have inside the same subnet, that is where the concept of network security group comes into picture. Because a network security group gets tied to your VNIC that is associated with a certain compute. Now, for this demo, what we are going to do is we are going to create a VCN, a public subnet, and two computes inside that subnet that will allow the traffic over the internet. But at the same time, we will ensure that with the help of network security group, only one compute will allow the ICMP. Now, how to do that? To achieve this, we will create a network security group, and that network security group will be tied to a certain VNIC of the particular compute. With this background and information, let's go to our OCI console now. First thing I'll do is create VCN. So I will name it as NSG test. I'll give a CIDR block of 10.0.0.0.16 and I'll click enter and I'll click on create VCN. The next thing I will do is I'll create a public subnet. So I'll click on create subnet. I'll name it as public. I'll keep it as regional 10.0.0.0.28. It will give me 16 IP addresses to play around with. I'll leave rest of the default information as it is, and I'll click on create subnet. So it has automatically created a public subnet for me. Now, what I will do is I'll create a custom security list that will allow incoming traffic only from my laptop to the subnet that we have created. So if I open a default security list, there are a lot of ingress rules, and I do not want to touch or delete anything from the default security list. So I'll go back and I'll create a custom security list. I will name it as custom, and I will add the ingress rule that will allow the incoming traffic from my laptop. So 110/32. And I'll select the protocol as TCP/22. With this, I'll click on create security list. So my custom security list is created. So I'll go to subnet and I will attach I'll click on here, add security list, and I'll attach the custom security list that I have created. And I'll remove the reference of the default security list. Similarly, I will have to create an internet gateway. So I'll name it as IGW. And I'll have to add a route rule. So in the route rule, I'll select internet gateway, and my destination CIDR block is 03/97/167/110/32. And I'll select the internet gateway and click on add route rules. With this, my basic configuration is done. Now I'm going to create a network security group. I'll name it as NSG. On next, I'll select the source type as CIDR, and my source CIDR IP is 103/97/167/10/32. I'll select the protocol as ICMP because that is what I want to test. I'll click on create. So my NSG rule is also set up. Now, if I go to VNIC here, there is no VNIC attached right now because I have not created a compute. So the next step will be I'll go to compute instances and I'll create two instances. So I'll name it as compute instance 1. I need to ensure that they are talking to the same VCN and then same subnet. I'll need to add my SSH key and I'll click on create. Okay, so while this gets provisioned, I'll go back and create another compute instance. Compute instance 2. In the networking, I'll need to ensure they are in the same subnet. I'll give the same SSH key and click on create. Okay, so the first compute instance is running now. Now, what I need to do is the first thing I need to ensure that both these compute instances are accessible over the internet from my laptop IP, which I have given in the NSG and CIDR block of the IDW or the IGW. So let me copy this IP. Let me go to putty. Let me delete the configuration that I have. I'll name this as compute instance 1. In the data, I will give OPC. In the SSH auth, I'll go and give my private key. Go to session, save this configuration. I'll click on open. Okay. So it is refusing the configuration right now. So let's wait. Let me refresh this page to see whether the process of provisioning is completed or not. Okay, this looks to be completed. Let me go open compute instance 1. Okay, this CIDR block looks okay. Security list, custom. This is also fine. Let me go to internet gateway. This also looks okay. Let me go to my compute instances. Let me try it again. 42 to 51 to 40. Okay, the IP looks okay. PC auth open. Okay, and I'll click on accept. So I think it was because of the lag that happens when you configure the compute instance. So as you can see here, I'm able to communicate with the compute instance 1 IP. Now let's see whether I can talk with the IP of the compute instance 2. So I'll close this putty. I'll create another configuration. Compute instance 2. Name the user as OPC auth key. I'll save this and open. Okay. So as you can see, both compute instance 1 and compute instance 2 are accessible over the internet from the IP of my laptop that I gave while doing the configuration of the security list and route tables. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to attach our NSG to the VNIC of the compute instance 1. So I'll open compute instance 1 and I'll click on edit. I'll give NSG, save changes. And now the NSG is attached to the VNIC of my compute instance 1. Now, if I go to NSG and if I go to VNICs, you will see that it is showing that association with the compute instance 1. Now to verify this configuration and whether to see whether the ICMP is communicating with only compute instance 1 and not 2, what we will do is we'll go to compute because I need to take the IPs of those instances. Now remember that we have attached our NSG to compute instance 1. So I'll copy this IP. I'll go to command prompt and I'll simply do a ping to that IP. And if you see, I'm getting the reply. That means my compute instance 1 is allowing the ICMP to flow in or that communication over the ICMP. Now let's see whether it is allowing the same for compute instance 2. So I'll copy the IP of the compute instance 2 and I'll do the ping for the same. You see, the request is timed out. This is happening because the NSG is attached only to compute instance 1 and not compute instance 2. And if I go to my NSG now, just to clarify my point, if I see the network security group, it is allowing the ICMP protocol only from this IP, which is the IP of my laptop right now. So if I go back to the diagram that we were discussing at the start of the session, what we have achieved is we have achieved the internet traffic to flow into both the computes, but at the same time, only compute 1 is allowing the ICMP, and this is achieved with the help of network security group. That is how network security group helps in differentiating the security rules between the computes that you have in the same subnet. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. Thank you.